All right, 3 cameras, same studio setup, same lens, same lighting, same white balance. Raptor X, Komodo X, and the Nikon/RED ZR. The question is simple. How close do these actually match when you're cutting interviews or talking head content? I kept this test intentionally boring because boring is honest. Controlled studio lighting, fixed tripod position about 6.5 feet away, and I'm wide open on the Thypoch 50mm. All the lights are set to 5600 Kelvin and every camera is white balanced to 5600 Kelvin. Before anyone gets upset or starts commenting, yes, the framing changes. Raptor X is a Vista Vision full-frame camera. The Nikon/RED ZR is a full-frame camera, and Komodo X is a Super 35. Even in 16:9 mode, you're going to see different field of view. That's not a flaw. That's the point. And here's the important part. I'm not using software tricks to force a match. I use the RED-provided IPP2 LUTs, and the grade is identical across all 3 clips. So what you're seeing is basically how these cameras naturally land under the same conditions. First up, Raptor X. This is what I would call my baseline. Saturation feels right, contrast feels right, skin tones feel right, and the gradients look exactly like what I personally like out of a high-end cinema camera. This is the gold standard reference for the rest of the test. Now let's go to Komodo X. And honestly, no surprise. It maps insanely close to Raptor X. The overall color response, saturation, and contrast, it is very, very close. And even looking at the waveform when I was grading, that waveform lines up in a way that just makes cutting between these 2 cameras feel easy. Super 35 does punch in. And of course, that changes our frame and also the fact that we're capturing in 6K rather than 8K. But if your goal is to match these cameras, say in an interview situation, Komodo X is basically the yes answer. One thing I always watch in a controlled studio lighting is the gradients, the skin, the shadows, the background fall off. On both Raptor X and Komodo X, the noise in those gradients is almost non-existent. And I say almost because it is there if you go hunting. And if for some reason you added a little tiny bit of sharpening, it'll be easier to see it. But it is not distracting. All right, Nikon/RED ZR. This is why I'm making this video. I am genuinely impressed by how well this camera lands without me forcing it. The saturation levels across the primaries are surprisingly consistent, and overall, the image holds together really well. And here's where it doesn't perfectly line up. The blues on Raptor X and Komodo X lean closer to the true blue target, but on the Nikon/RED ZR, the blue shifts a little away and more towards teal or cyan. And contrast-wise, it is slightly less contrasty than reds, but it's less contrasty in a pleasing way. If you want more punch, you can always add it by changing your light ratios or applying it in post. I would also say that the detail in the darker areas is still very strong. One quick note, when I shot these, I started with the Nikon ZR. So you'll notice the little fairy lights in the background weren't lit up in the beginning of the clip. They do come on later, and I'm just calling that out so that nobody thinks it's a different camera. My biggest takeaway is how far tech has come. These are 3 cameras at wildly different price points. And if your final output is streaming or social media, most people would never know which one they're looking at. That is insane. Now that I've got a clean baseline, the next video is where things are going to get interesting. I'm going to be shooting on an LED background. I'm going to try natural light, and I'm going to try mixed lighting. And all of that because that is where cameras usually start to separate. If you want to see those tests, be sure to subscribe. And if you enjoyed this video or it helped you in some way, don't be shy. Smash the like button. Until next time, I'm Carlos Quintero, and I'll catch up with you on the next one. Take care.